we'll just keep on chatting while we wait for the other people to join. I hope to do this weekly, and next week it's actually going to be from Brazil, where I'll be doing some fantastic downwinds. Loaded up my surf skis and I'm just waiting to drive to Lisbon tomorrow and then put them on the plane, arrive in a place called Fortaleza, which is the north of Brazil. Okay, just type to see if everything's working. Can you hear me and can you see me? I think you can type and I should be able to see, but I'm not seeing anything. Okay, hold on, what is that? There. Let's try to see. Okay, I don't want that. Okay, trying to see if anybody's out there. It doesn't seem to be working that well. We're just checking on what's going on. Kate's the only one on that I can see. Kate White, you must be somewhere where it's not bedtime. We've got a lot of bedtime viewers out there, so it'll get recorded later. I'm not getting a response. Let's see. Oh my God, let's have a look. Kate White. What was there? It's our first of many to go. Bring them on camera. Okay, Kate. Face now, TV. Oh, something strange happening. And let's see what else I can do to see if I can get a reaction from anybody. Start. I've done that. Okay, I've done that part. That part seems. Kate White, Jose is watching. Okay, Jose, can you hear me? I just need it. I think you can type somewhere to say Jose Correa Pinto Filho is watching, and Kate White is watching. I did many of these live broadcasts in lockdown, and here I am at my home in Porto, getting packed and ready to go to Fortaleza, Brazil, where the wind is blowing and the sun is shining, so it should be a very nice place to go. I've been there. I was there a month ago and going back there to actually paddle like a 300-kilometer downwind, sort of doing stages between 30 and 50 kilometers, just to make it a lot of fun. And for the first time, I'm taking Nelo, the owner of Nelo's, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm hoping it works. I can't tell because there's like no feedback button, or can't see how to see feedback. It says Kate White and Jose watching, which is better than nothing. And it's a start. All things in life need a start. You've always got to start somewhere, and there's nothing bad about starting on a Thursday from Porto. In fact, Villa de Conde, and as you can see, the sun's shining like crazy. It's really a nice day here, but it's very chilly. I mean, last night it actually got to 6 degrees in Villa de Conde, which is fairly chilly. I was at the factory early this morning loading my boats. We'll tie the boats onto my full electric iX3, a BMW SUV. It's completely electric, and we'll drive to Lisbon, put the boats on the plane early, and then fly across to Fortaleza, where Marcelo Bossi will be meeting us, and we'll be starting our trek down the coast to a place called Jericoacoara. Okay, so that's perfect. And everyone, Gary Mayo is watching as well. Okay, so now that was a good thing. We should have done that. Yeah, so everything's working. I've just got confirmation from ever helping wife. She can hear that everything's going well. I thought it's going to be recorded. Shariat Knu is watching. You guys go and type something in your questions that doesn't seem to be working. I can't see any. And maybe Claire, can you see any questions getting typed up? So first I was going to do is give you just sort of a health update. It's always interesting to know when with me of what's going on. And you can see a few little patches I had burnt off. I had that cut out. The new cancer and the new chemo regime is working a lot better. I don't seem to have as many basal cell carcinomas. That's basically another form of cancer, skin cancer. I'm not having it's getting much better. It's working much better, so that's good news. I'm on a regime where I have 4 injections over 2 weeks every 3 months, which is, again, it doesn't actually affect me one bit. The last time I had the injections, and off I went and flew to Brazil and raced in the Molocabra race, which was a lot of fun, and managed to win that race. And then from there, I have no side effects at all. And again, I'll have my injections sort of the end of November, which is 3 months. And then I'll go to South Africa to do a few Miller's runs and do some good reports from South Africa on a double or a single, where I should be staying on the Miller's Run in the same house as I was at last time. So my health-wise, I'm feeling fairly good. Just to give you a rundown on what I'm doing in training-wise, in Brazil, my plan is to wake up every morning and get a bit of early morning sun, because the funny thing is that you actually need vitamin D. You can't actually eat enough vitamin D. The best form of vitamin D is to go in the early morning sun when the rays aren't so powerful, but you can get the most vitamin D for half an hour, 45 minutes, trying to maximize your body exposure to the sun, and that'll give you all the vitamin D you like. Then after that, you must put your sunblock in to avoid getting skin cancers and things like that. So I plan to do a few exercises and swim early in the morning, and I'm trying to do, while I'm in I still try and do now 3 times a week CrossFit. What I've found with CrossFit, it gives me my high intensity training, and it gives an all over rounded training. So I've always had like a sore back, and obviously when I had the tumor in my spine, I had a sore back, and I found that this CrossFit is helping me a lot, building up all round strength and making me feel a lot better and my back stronger. So I'd recommend getting into some CrossFit. I think it's very important to do some cross training for paddling. I've also got the Powerhouse, which is that machine where you can actually paddle properly, because the biggest problem with paddling is that with most paddling machines is you end up just pulling with your arms. You're not actually going forward, but in the boat yourself, you're actually putting the paddle in and you're trying to pull yourself past. And the Powerhouse machine definitely makes that happen, and you can feel the muscles that you use to make yourself go fast forward. So coming back to what I'm doing, training here, so 3 times a week I do CrossFit, and in the early morning I like to walk and run. So a walk and run means that I sort of walk at a fast pace and then try and run 2 or 3 kilometers, then walk again. So I'm always changing it up, and it gives you that's my sort of MAF session, which is maximum aerobic function, developed by a guy called Phil Mathertone. And what I do with that is make sure that I keep my heart rate under 180 minus my age. So I'm getting close to 60, so it's close to 120, so 122, and I just run at that rate and try and improve all the time. Because I live in Portugal, where they love all their food and things like that, I'm also fasting all the time. We always do 24-hour fast, so we only eat once a day, and invariably what we eat is mainly protein and fat with a little bit of carbs. Actually, the only carbs we actually eat we actually drink is dry wines, white and champagne and rosé and red wines, which keeps your weight down after eating or things. And then when I have a blowout day, I just fast for 1 or 2 or 3 days. Once you're in a state of ketosis, you find that you don't really need to eat much. I'm never hungry, so that's the nicest thing about being in ketosis. Claire, I can hear you so clearly, it's like you're in my video. Okay, that's Claire. She's trying to do a conversation in the background. Didn't realize how good these microphones were. Yeah, so 3 times a week CrossFit. Then I try and do, now we haven't got much wind, so what I'm trying to do in a 510, Nelo 510, I try and make sure that I do all my technique sessions. Okay, so my technique sessions takes about 45 minutes, working on every aspect of paddling, and I'm doing that 3 or 4 times a week. You just dress properly. I mean, it is a bit chilly, but at the midday it's fairly sunny and not bad. As now, if I turned around, there's not a cloud in the sky, but the wind is a little bit chilly, but there's not enough wind for a downwind. So concentrating on technique, and if it gets too cold, just jump on the powerhouse machine and work at that. I'm just trying to see if I can. It's funny, I can't see who's online, but I can see there are a few people online, and I can't see any comments. I don't know how you guys comment, but there's no comments, so I'll just carry on as is with my coffee here. It's 3 o'clock in 3:14 in Villa de Conte. Very nice day here. Factory's going well, making and producing lots of surf skis, so that's fun. So getting back to training, so trying to do 3 times a week, walking, running, because if I run too long, I found that my heart rate goes too high over MAF, so then I just walk, and at 1 kilometer my heart rate comes all the way down, and then I run, and as I get better again, I've sort of missed it when I was in the Azores, which is a fantastic place, by the way. I'll talk about the Azores, which is the middle of the Atlantic. Now I'll get back to running and walking and building up. And then the other thing I really enjoy doing is I swim at this stage twice a week, 8:30 on a Monday and 8:30 on Thursday. So later on this evening, I'll go and swim. It's rather late if you want to wake up really early, but the sun only gets up at 7, so it's not fine. And then I'll probably do 2,000 meters to 3,000 meters. So not huge amount of swimming, but really I find it helps you, because doing the CrossFit helps the really big muscles when you're swimming and you're twisting and carrying on like that. It really helps the small little muscles around your spine, and I find it helps a lot for injuries and things like that. So basically, I'm trying to, most days I'm doing two sessions. Some days, if I get lucky, 3 sessions. And again, it's just about planning your day and making sure that you know what and what you're doing for the whole week. In fact, the best thing is to plan on a Sunday and plan your week, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to do my swimming, I'm going to do my CrossFit, I'm going to do my powerhouse, I'm going to do my technique session. That's very important, and that's one of the things that makes top sportsmen better than others, is that they know how to plan their day so they get things done. I'm just going to try and see if I can see where the questions are.
I don't see any.
Yeah, so I don't see any questions on my side. I'm just going to look on my computer, so maybe it comes up on my computer. I know I had one question on email, which I'll answer just now. Let's have a look. The email here, it was, let's just have a look. This is an email for a question today, and I'd like you guys, and again, at the moment I can't see any questions, so it's quite difficult. I'm sure we'll sort that all out. Like anything in life, it takes a bit of time, and we'll make it. Let's just have a look. The one question that I did get was, I'm just looking for here. Let's have a look. Always so difficult to find things when you want to find them. Okay, that was, here we go. This is, okay, so this is from Eric. He's paddling, he's in Wellington, so it's a little bit early for him, but we're going to answer his question. Hi, my name is Eric. I recently joined the Oscars Club. I joined the club hoping to get involved in online chats with you, which I'm doing. I'm interested in training plans, but I'm really interested in learning how to become a better downwind paddler. All the tips and tricks that you have learned over the years that I've helped you to perform, see the patterns many of us are not seeing. We see patterns and we go for them, but I suspect you're seeing different patterns, and that's why you're able to travel so fast downwind. Oscar, is there opportunity group led by you to chat downwind paddling tips and tricks? Question and answer from the group live. Thanks again, Oscar. Yes, absolutely, Eric from Wellington. The biggest problem, as I say, it doesn't seem to want to put your questions forward at the moment, but we've got the one question and it's not going to be very interactive because it doesn't seem to work at the moment. So maybe we'll go Instagram live or another platform live so that you can actually get the questions and I can see the questions and I can answer them very easily and quickly so everybody's involved. But as I say, it's a start. The most important thing about downwind paddling that I've learned over the years is that most people try too hard. People don't actually know that no matter what, if you miss a wave, there's always another wave there. So the first thing is to really be relaxed. Rather let 5 waves go past you and catch the perfect one that you're ready for, then try for 10 waves and only catch one, because then you are tired and you haven't got the strength. When the perfect wave arrives, you haven't got the energy. And that's, I find, is what most people struggle when they're downwind. When it comes to patterns, the patterns change all the time and it takes time to learn the patterns. Make no mistake, I spend hours and hours doing downwind, and you just do get better because you spend hours and hours and you learn the patterns, you learn the little idiosyncrasies in different places as well. So now I'm going to Fortaleza. I know the waves are, the wind lines up really straight, but there's always a sort of a groundswell that goes from right to left that you want to pick up those ones that give you an extra bit of power and an extra bit of speed. So I focus on the small ones to give me the rest, so that when those big ones come, 2 things I need to do. I have to have good boat speed and I have to have the energy to catch these big waves. So that's the biggest difference that I make, is that my boat speed's always up. And for my boat speed always to be up, your nose must always be slightly down. And if your nose is slightly down all the time, you know you're going faster than paddling on flat water. And everything's there to make you go faster. So that is the secret, is to keep your nose down, so that straight away makes your boat speed go higher. And then, even though you're going straight like at 90 degrees, remember always catching the wave at 90 degrees. Once you've caught that wave at 90 degrees, then you start looking, and when I go to Fortaleza, I look for the right to see if there's a big wave that's going to come across me, and not a too big an angle, just enough so that I can actually catch that and increase my speed by a lot, so that I can actually go really fast and with not too much effort, because I've had the boat speed, remember, and I've been resting on this wave, just keeping my nose down. So I've been resting. So even if I can't put my paddle down, but I can actually just go into like a neutral position, so that when I see this big wave coming, I can just turn on it, and I'm going 13 or 14 kilometers an hour. So I only have to increase the speed by 2 or 3 kilometers an hour, and I'm onto a big one, which will get me, and I know this will happen in Fortaleza, it will get me to 18 to 20 to 22 kilometers an hour. So that is the secret, is to always make sure that you are ready for this perfect wave, because that is the one that takes you the furthest with the least amount of effort. And I know, and I'm going to be sending a lot of videos from Brazil, and the timing will work so the people that are awake or sleeping now might be awake next time, and I'm going to change the times all the time so that so we can work it out. Or up to you to guys to decide that I'll just stick to a certain time every week so that you can chat about lots of things. So those are the kind of questions I need to be answered by you guys so that I want you to get the most value. And again, remember, I don't have to talk about just paddling. As you know, I've been going through all this health issues, and I like to think that I'm handling it fairly well. And so exercise and training and health and sleep and all those things work, and then what to eat also helps, or what not to eat with keto. So getting back to the downwind, I think so. That's the key thing, is that remember that always know there's another wave behind the one that you've missed, and don't try and catch it, because if you try and catch everyone, your boat sinks down into the wave. It sinks down into the wave, and you fill up with water, and then you think, oh, I've got to catch the next wave. You don't have to. When that happens, when you fill up with water and you've got lots of water in your boat, and now you're thinking, oh, I've got to get going, first thing you do, and funny enough, I was racing in the Azores last week, and I made a mistake. I make one once a week, or when I make a mistake, all I did, the first part, because your boat's full of water now, the first thing I did, I was lean right over, and I threw half the water out, and then I started paddling again. In fact, I was actually chasing a silver medalist from the Olympic, Emmanuel Silver. And I threw that water out, and I just started paddling nice and made sure and waited for the perfect wave. And I caught the next wave, and then all the water drained out very smartly, and I was back in contention waiting for the perfect wave. So remember that if you try too hard, you end up filling your boat up with water, but don't panic. Throw the water out first and just paddle slowly till you find a wave that's easy to catch. Catch a small little one so that your boat is completely empty of water and you've got the energy back, and rest up a bit. Don't panic when your boat fills up with water. Just let it happen, and make sure that you are ready for the next wave that comes, the next good wave. And that's very, very important to be monitoring all the time. That's why on my GPS I've got 4 things. And one of the most important things is my heart rate. I can tell you right now, too many people's heart rates are way too high when they're doing downwind. As I probably mentioned this before, my best downwind is a 80-kilometer downwind I did here in Porto. Can't remember, probably 2 years ago, 80 kilometers. My average speed was 17.7 kilometers per hour. And that's with taking a phone call from Claire to say, are you doing all right? And I said, yes, I'm fine. And that probably caused me not to get an 18-kilometer average the whole time. But the interesting thing about that is my heart rate was 123. 123 beats per minute, because I was resting most of the time. I was using the power of the waves and keeping my boat speed up so that I wouldn't have to kill myself, so I wouldn't have to go flat out. Having said that, in a race, sometimes you do have to push your heart rate over the limits that you want, but it's no big deal. Doing my MAF training, I always keep my heart rate under 130, and then if I'm doing a high intensity training, I'll let my heart rate go to 160, 161. But the biggest thing is, when you catch that wave, and this is another thing for Eric's question, when you catch that wave, make sure that you're in a brace position and you actually open your hands, because too many people going downwind, hold onto the paddles too tight. And if you hold onto your paddles too tight, it makes everything get more tired quicker. So you really want to make sure that you open your paddles. Every time you brace, make sure you open your paddles. Your hands, so to let your paddle just bounce along the water, and there's no energy and strength holding your paddle up. Okay, so that's another tip, is really every time you do catch a wave, make sure that you're trying to bring that heart rate down. So I know when I'm really going hard, I'll get my heart rate up to 161, 162, but within a wave, I can bring that down to 120. This is in a race. And now when I go to Fortaleza, my whole aim there is to have the heart rate not go over 120. And then when I catch a wave, I want it to go down to 90. So it's very important to get your heart rate to really understand that when it's working, it's got to work hard, because we have the 3 explosive strokes to catch the wave. And then once I've caught that wave, I must make sure, do everything to get my heart rate down. And the first thing is to relax. Second thing is to open your hands. That will also relax everything. And to put the weight of the paddle on your knee and on the water, so you don't have to hold this paddle up, which weighs 800 or 1 kilogram. Make sure that you leave it lying on the water. So that's important, to make sure that you don't just grip it all the time. Be relaxed, and then invariably on a downwind, lean back. You know that when you lean back, as opposed to a lot of people say you must lean forward, lean back, because what that does is put your rudder into the wave, and it takes your nose out, which makes your boat far more maneuverable. And you just got to practice this all the time to make sure that you're leaning back as far as possible, because you can lean a lot further back than you can lean further. And the older you get, it's even harder to lean forward. Yeah, so as those people, there's a few people that joined Fab Serbski. Good. Sorry I can't see any questions from you guys, because I'd love to be more interactive. We're going to have to look at a different method of communicating, because I can't see any questions, and I'd like to really impart my knowledge on you, but the best way is to see what you are looking for. I mean, I've got so many different topics I can talk to you about, and help you. And that's what this whole Oscars Club is about, is to help people in every aspect of paddling, of course, but in every aspect of health, and helping people be positive and feel positive, and hopefully my positivity can rub off on you and help you in whatever situation that you're going in or going through. Because everybody's got their ups and downs. Believe me, I just heard an interesting story of a Kenyan sevens rugby player who was on a motorbike and crashed, and they say he'll never ever play rugby again. So I said, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to take up surf ski paddling. You don't use your legs as much as you do in rugby, but he's obviously, he's got a big engine. There's another opportunity for him to do another sport. So these are the things that I just sent him a video to say, listen, and his name actually happens to be Oscar as well. So he is we're going to get together, and hopefully I'm going to introduce him to. I see, Steve Pattinson. Can you believe it? This is the first question. It's great to see you looking good. How's your health? Okay, Steve, good to hear. So you're the first question. I don't know, maybe all other guys don't know how to do the questioning, but Steve seems to have worked it all out. How's your health doing? No, I'm doing absolutely well. I mean, you can see I've just had a few burns off. I go to a thing called EPO, which is the cancer hospital in Porto, and what they did is they burnt a few things off, and then on my arm, they lasered something off. I don't know. They gave me a few local injections. Didn't hurt anything. The burning off's not a big deal, and that's good, because I've changed my chemo regime from a daily pill called lenalidomide to every 3 months having chemo in an injection form with an injection called Velcade, and it works. It doesn't affect me one bit, and it's the funniest thing. I go there to get the injections, and the lady gives me, here you have to have these 3 anti-nausea pills and this anti-diarrhea pills and anti-this pill. I said, no, I don't want any of them, and they haven't affected me one bit. I've felt good. In fact, after I had my last treatment of chemo, I jumped in a plane and started paddling the next day, flat out in Brazil, which is a magnificent place. So, Steve, just to ask, as I say, most people haven't been able to do any questions, and you seem to have worked it out. So, I think Steve's actually in Plettenberg Bay, I think, South Africa. So the time there is 5:30. So it's probably still nice and light there, and getting nice and warm, I think. So again, just remember, we'll work out what is going to be the best way to discuss your questions and your topics, so that can really be interactive, so everybody learns from everybody's questions, because there's no such thing as a stupid question. Yeah, so I can see that people are coming and going, and I know it's a bit frustrating. I can't see what you're asking. But just to those guys that joined late, is that tomorrow I jump in my car and with Nelo, the founder and owner of Nelo Kayaks and Nelo Surf Skis, and we're going to go to Brazil to do a 300-kilometer downwind from a place called Fortaleza to Jericoacoara. That's how you say it. And we're going to just do 30 to 50-kilometer paddles. And I think it's going to be a really fun trip, doing downwinds every single day and staying at a different place every day. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to do a lot of videos and a lot of correspondence from there. And hopefully next week a different time, and again we're going to pick which is going to be the best time for you guys, and you can choose. And then and I'll do some from Brazil, which is a magnificent place, very good wind, lovely warm water, because I'm in Vila do Conde at the moment. And in Vila do Conde at the moment, even though the sun is shining, as you can see, it's bright shining on me, it's still about 14, 15 degrees outside. And in the morning, it was 6 degrees. So it's not bad at all, so you can't complain. But it is chilly, and I'm looking forward to going to Brazil with Nelo. So that's my next move. But I'd really appreciate if you guys in the Oscars Club put your questions and let us know what times work better for you, or maybe we go Instagram Live, which seems to work even better. Okay, here's Rob. Rob, it's working. May Wilson is watching. Okay, so I'm a beginner in surf ski coming from BC 4-star sea kayaking. Which leash system do you recommend? Okay, see more. Let's see if I can see more. That's quite good. So people are coming on and there are questions. See more, and I don't see more. Okay. Rob Polinkino. Yeah, what leash system you recommend? Yeah, so from sea kayaking, a lot of people have paddle leashes. I don't recommend them that much because there's too many leashes. The best leash is to have a leash that normally goes around this part of the knee. You can see sort of here, and then onto your boat, strapped on. Remember, when you're wearing a leash, you only use it when you're outside the surf break. Don't use leashes in the surf break. I can tell you right now, some people can actually have your legs ripped off. That's how strong. Especially if you've got a strong leash and a strong boat, you're going to have problems. So the whole thing about the leash is just when you fall off and you panic, is that the boat doesn't drift away from you. And I can promise you, and depends on how heavy your boat is. And if you came from sea kayaking, you didn't have much problem with the boat blowing away. But if you had a leash, a surf ski and Nelo surf ski just made a nice surf ski of 8 kilograms, I can promise you in 10 knots or even 5 knots of wind, that boat will go over the sea and over the ocean much faster than you can swim. So the leash helps you to keep the boat in its place and you don't let go. So I come from a surf life-saving background, and my whole thing is when I fall off the boat, I grab my boat anyway. So that's also a lesson. Practice this as well. If you fall off, don't just let the boat go away. Grab onto the boat and realize that is your life-saver. Your boat is your life-saving. Jump on that boat and then remount as fast as possible. But if you always worrying about the leash, it does become a problem. But a leg leash is what I use most of the time. And sometimes I also put instead of having around my leg, I have it in the middle of my chest. I just tie it around there and onto my surf ski, so it's in the middle and it doesn't interfere with me. But practice doing your remounts with your leash, but also practice not letting go of your boat. This is one of the things that you should really work on. It's one of the things that you should be doing all the time. I remount every single time because every time I'm coaching, I'm teaching people how to remount. So that's going to be something that you should be doing all the time, especially with heavy clothing like you're going to have in Britain and places that are chilly. And you always remount with your life jacket to understand how it works. And you should get your remount every single time. And don't forget that you should remount on both sides. So what happens is most people remount from the left-hand side because, and it's the strangest thing, but they fall out on the right-hand side. That's the strangest thing. It's very, very strange that, and the reason that happens is that they right feather, so they brace very well on the left-hand side, and they all fall out on the right-hand side. So that's a big problem that I find all the time. Let's just put this a little bit here because it's too bright now, darling. Getting too much sun in here. I'm just going to put the blinds down. What is the issue with paddle leash? Doesn't the paddle act as a sea anchor? Rob, what is the issue with the paddle leash? Doesn't it act as a sea anchor? It does sometimes, but when you've got a super light boat and a super light paddle and it's over 25 knots, it's just, no, that's perfect. It's just not enough. So it's just not enough to slow your boat down. The other alternative, you saying just rather have a paddle leash as opposed to a leg leash? Yeah, I rather have, if I'm going to have one leash, I'd rather have a leg leash attached to my boat so I hold my paddle all the time. So you must get used to holding a paddle. Having said that, is when I used to fish off my surf ski, I always had a leash on my paddle, because then I used to leave the paddle alone and I had to use my fishing rod to catch the fish. So that was a different application of my paddle leash. Yeah. So again, a guy like Rob Mosley from Surf Ski Info, he uses paddle leashes and leg leashes, and they obviously they are used to these things. I'm not used to. The less clutter and the less things I have to take on board is better. I mean, invariably, when I go out with Nelo has a leash, always has a leash, and then I always tell him, I'm your lifesaver, so if you have any problems with your leash, I will save you anyway, because that's my take on it. I've spent all my life, I've never let go of my surf ski yet, and I don't think I'll ever will. The first reaction, once I've fallen off and it happens, I grab my boat and my paddle, and I'm really remounting. And talking about remounting on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, I was with Nelo the other day, it's actually probably 2 months ago, and we're in a howling, big downwind. I'm talking swells were 5 to 7 meters. The wind was 25 to 35 knots. And we were going along absolutely fine. I was in the Nelo 600. I never had any problems. But we stopped and chatted and we said, okay, let's rest and let's talk about this. And then a wave came and we were sort of sideways on it, broke on us. And that was it. We fell out. I mean, I don't think anybody was to survive that. I mean, Nelo's good at bracing. I'm good at bracing. We just crashed onto us and we like 3.5 k's off shore. So it was nothing for me. We got ready and we got the wind behind us, which you must always do when you're remounting. And we're on the right-hand side of the boat. So I jumped and I'm doing my remount and he can't do it. And he's kneeling in the boat. He's trying to stand in the boat, but he just cannot get his remount right because it's on the right-hand side and he hasn't practiced for a while. But I didn't know this. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to have to swim 3.5 kilometers and get this boat dragged in with Nelo. Gee, this is turning into a nightmare. I was just having so much fun. I mean, we were really having good fun. We were going 15 to 16 kilometers an hour and just paddling so easily. And eventually I realized, oh, I'm remounting on the right-hand side. So we turned the double around and got it so that we're remounting on the left-hand side. And lo and behold, first time, ready, go, up, in, and off we went. So that is a problem. You've got to learn to remount on both sides. And the only way to remount on both sides is to practice both sides every time you go out. Just do one on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side. And I've got lots of tricks and things that can help you learn to do both sides. And one of them is putting both legs out on one side and then pulling your legs over each side all the time. So these are the things that you should be doing, and it's an important part of surf ski paddling to keep yourself safe. Most drownings have been caused by people not remounting, and we've lost, I think, 2 or 3 people in the last year purely because of remount. I saw the rescue helicopters in Cape Town and Camps Bay when I was staying there in lockdown, and the guy from, I think it was from Europe somewhere, and then lived in South Africa, went out fairly late and couldn't remount. Hypothermia sets in, especially in Cape Town and those cold waters, and that's it. So it's such a simple rule. Make sure you can remount in all conditions on both sides, and then you are absolutely safe. And that's why surf ski paddling is so much fun, because it's safe, because your boat's never going to fill up with water unless you break it in half, but you're only going to break your boat in half on the shore, never out in the ocean. I've only done that once, and it was a scrap boat that I was using, and wasn't a big deal. It didn't break in half in 1 second. But the bottom line is, your boat is your safest thing to stick to. But if you can't remount and get too tired, that's how you have incidences out there. So you really got to make sure that you can remount on both sides. Okay. It's very, as I say, it's quite difficult. I can't really see the questions, but it's good that Rob and Steve had some questions and they working it out. But as I said to the people that are joining and the people that are going to be watching this later, I'm here to help you in every aspect and every topic that I know a little bit about. And if I don't know a little bit, I've read up about it, and I know people that you can go and follow and learn from as well, not only me. So this will be the first 45-minute session, and between Cam and myself and Claire, we'll work out what is going to be the best way. Maybe we do it on Instagram, and maybe what's the best time to do it. And I'm going to, as I say, be traveling all over the world, and I'd like to take you guys with me on my travels, and you can learn while I'm learning, because this time I'm taking Nelo, so I'm going to do a lot of videos teaching Nelo how to get better at downwind paddling, which I'm sure everybody's going to love. And I'm taking my big pole to make sure that I can get all different angles on how to teach people how to go downwind faster with less effort, just like me. I mean, I'm really unfit, and the race in the Azores took off very fast. I can still remount so fast that I'm the fastest at remounting. Then I had Olympic gold medalists and silver medalists. They just flew past me while it was flat, and then we turned, and then we had some big waves, and I caught up from maybe 10th, or no, even I was probably about 15th by the time we turned the buoy, and I caught up to 6th place through the waves, and then on the flat water they all overtook me. So I used just pure skill to beat the guys, and not the effort that so many people think you have to do. As I say, these are current Olympic medalists, and I could just paddle past them because I was using this and not this. And I've got a very little bit of this, so I have to use my head, and that's why the people that are in Oscar's club appreciate what I do, is that I stand for people that are old and weak and use technique to do faster and better times and more relaxed and less injuries. I mean, that's what to help you with. And I look forward to next week. And again, you guys decide when, where, what medium you want to use it on social media, so that we can get a bigger amount of people online, which makes it a lot more fun and more different questions. Let's see if I can find any more. Let's see, May Wilson was watching. Steve. Okay, so a lot of people were watching but not giving comments. Remember, don't worry about any question. There's no such thing as a bad question. If you've got anything, ask away, and you'll learn, and everybody else listening is going to learn. And that's the most important thing in life. Don't be scared of asking questions. That's the way you learn. And believe me, you do learn from your mistakes. As I say, this is our first live session, and I want to make sure that I try and do this every week. So I'm going to sign off now, but I'm going to see you in Brazil, take you to Brazil, Fortaleza, Atlantic Ocean as well. I'm in the Atlantic here, which is only about 15 degrees, and I'm going to go to the Atlantic on the other side of the Atlantic, where it's going to be 28 degrees. So I'm really looking forward to a fantastic warm paddles there and winds, and again teaching you guys how to get better at downwind paddling and at strength and whatever I can help you with. Signing off, and see you in Brazil. Cheers.